My name is Jack, and I'm obsessed with all things fish. I'm trying to catch 100 different species of fish from British waters as I fly, course, and sea fish for whatever comes along. This week I'm on my local patch of the River Trent as I go for barbel, both on the feeder and float fishing. I'm very lucky that I live less than 20 minutes from some fantastic barbel fishing, arguably the best in the country, but I'll be honest, I very rarely target them. One thing I've always wanted to do, however, is float fish for one, so that was my main aim today. The river was a bit high, but not impossible to get one out. So looking at this swim, it does scream barbel. You've got a nice bit of flow going through the middle, and typically barbel-like flow. And we've got some swirls going around, so that's going to be collecting food. So those barbel are going to be coming out of the flow and sucking up any bits of food floating about. There's also an overhanging tree, so there's a bit of cover for them, and there's a bit of depth. So it's the perfect recipe for a barbel swim. As of yet elusive. I'm getting the odd little rat-a-tat-tat, but when a barbel takes, there's no messing around. That rod should just go whoosh. I should know that. If you get a chub, they're a little bit different to barbel, not quite as an aggressive bite. Although I wouldn't mind a chub today, but obviously barbel are the target. In terms of bait, I've brought everything with me today. So I've got some meat, I've got some corn, I've got pellets, I've got hemp, and I've also got boilies, which is what I'm using at the minute. I don't normally fish boilies. I don't have anything against them particularly, but because it's a robust bait, it means I can leave it out there with confidence that I know that the little fish aren't going to be pecking at it, because there's going to be masses of small fish in this area as well as the barbel. So I need to make sure that I'm confident that my bait is still there and that nothing's munched it. I'm using 10-pound mainline, maybe a little bit overkill, although saying that, I mean the Trent has got some absolute hogs of barbel. There are some huge ones in here. My biggest barbel to date is just shy of 10 pounds. So a double figure one would be amazing. But at the minute, I'll take any size barbel. We need one for the challenge, so we'll see what comes along. Generally, I'm quite a confident coarse angler. This is my bread and butter. I love fishing rivers for coarse fish. But barbel are a fish, like I said, I've not really caught a lot of. And although the Trent's full of them, they're not necessarily easy. You've got to know where to fish for them, how to fish for them. And of course, they're heavily fished for on the Trent, so they're wised up to most tactics. It's been pretty slow so far, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong. Everywhere looks barbely to me. So, I don't know, this is when like the mind games start when you're fishing. You're just like, should I change tactics? Should I move swim? Should I do something differently? Should I stick it out? Is it just a case that I'm not being patient enough? And I think I'd feel more confident if I was getting more kind of indication on the end of the rod, but I'm just getting nothing. Not getting any taps, nothing. So I don't know, it's one of those things. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the swim, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the bait. I don't think there's anything wrong with the rig. And the time of day, I mean, this is perfect conditions. There's a bit of colour in the river. It's early morning. I don't know what's happening. Well, things went from bad to worse. As it being a typical English July, it started to piss it down. As you can see, conditions have slightly worsened. I've even gone to putting my bait apron on to try and keep dry. July in England, eh? Now, as it turns out, I just spoke to one of the committee members and I was in the wrong swim. So I'm sure there are barbel in that swim, but this is the swim that he recommended that I fish. So now I've got my float set up, which I'm very excited to use. And we're going to trot and see if I can get a barbel on the float. If that doesn't work, I'll go back on the feeder. But I'd really, really like to get a barbel on the float tactic. So got hair rigged spam, and let's see if it works. I started piling in the bait to get the fish grubbing around, and after 4 or 5 trots, the float dipped under and I was into a fish.
I've hooked a pretty decent barbel. I can't think what else it'd be. And there are river carp, there are chub, there are catfish in the Trent. There are plenty of catfish in the Trent now, unfortunately. But my money would be on barbel, and it just goes to show, knowing the right peg. Obviously I've been fishing all morning, and oh, definitely a barbel, and it don't look a bad one either. I do not want to lose this. Oh, I'm so glad I beefed up the tackle. I nearly thought, is a carp rod too much for float fishing? But I tell you what, this barbel is running me round and not struggling in that flow at all. I really don't want to lose this. Come on. Oh, he's going again. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's not. I just saw the hook then. It's not hooked. It's only in the top lip. Jesus, come on. Let's get you in. Come on. Oh. Yeah! Oh! Get in! Wow! Ooh. Float fishing for barbel. Get in. Let's sort this fish out.
It's so important to rest barbel after catching them. I've seen so many floating downstream belly up, so choosing a cooler day to fish helps, and just holding the fish out in the current until it starts to liven up a bit is a must for barbel fishing. Fish care is key, so keep your hands wet, a decent unhooking mat, and keep them out of the water for as little time as possible. Look at that! Float fishing for barbel on the Trent. That is an absolute clonker of a fish. That is amazing. Right, let's get it back and rested. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Right. She's just starting to come round, and I'm so chuffed. I'm so relieved because the conditions are not great, as you might have expected. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning to come fishing here, and it's cold and I'm wet, and I'm so glad that I've caught a barbel and on the float. I've always wanted to do that. It's been an ambition of mine for years. So the fact that I've caught a barbel on the Trent, on my local patch, on the float is phenomenal. And a lot of anglers will say, oh, I don't mind if I don't catch, it's just nice being out there. And there is an element of that. But obviously we want to catch, or we'd just all go bird watching, wouldn't we? So I'm so chuffed that I've caught something today, because I've put a lot of effort into this, and people have been very kind and generous with information on to track these barbel down. So I'm just on cloud 9. That is absolutely fantastic. Just going to give her a couple more minutes. Want to make sure she's completely back to normal before she goes, and then we'll let her go.
Barbel are one of my favourite fish and are perfectly designed for life in the river, having a sloped head to move in fast water. When small, barbel are quite speckly and get mixed up with small gudgeon. The easy difference is that barbel have 4 barbels, the little dangly bits around the mouth, and gudgeon only have 2. When they get bigger, they have an amazing bronze colour and pink fins to them, and they tend to hang around in shoals. In the early summer, around late May and early June, they spawn, chasing each other on the gravels before a large female will dip into the riverbed and release the eggs for the males to fertilise. The rain finally stopped and I was joined by Dale from the local fishing club. He came down to have a chat and I switched to the feeder, which really seemed to pay off as the bites were thick and fast.
Paddle along when it's gravels down, they paddle along the edge.
Do they?
Margins there, yeah. There's kingfisher again.
Oh God, it's all kicking off.
Whoa.
Oh,
That'll be another fish there.
that kingfisher and oyster catcher was good luck.
Yeah.
Barbel bites are savage. You have to keep your drag nice and loose and an eye on the rod to avoid losing it. I ended up catching a few more nice sized barbel. I had to take a phone call, so I left Dale with the rods, and the jammy git ended up getting an 11-pound barbel. I was gutted. Well, I say gutted, I was pleased he got a nice fish, but I would have quite liked that. Although there are day ticket waters for barbel on the Trent, most of the decent barbel fishing is, if I'm honest, managed by clubs. For example, I'm a member of Nottingham Piscatorials, and they've got some fantastic water.
Well, this has been an incredible session. From going through pretty much freezing my arse off, soaking wet in the morning, struggling for a bite, till the rod's getting wrapped round pretty much a bite a chuck with barbel. It's pretty mental. I'm pretty sure that barbel I caught earlier was a PB, or certainly near my PB. I don't think I've broken 10 pounds today, but certainly not far off it. And the average stamp of fish that me and Dale have caught today have all been around that mark. And Dale obviously had that one that was slightly bigger. So it's been a fantastic day. I'm really glad that I did get one on the float. I'm chuffed to death with that. The feeder though is smashing it at the moment. The river's a little bit high up. I think if the water levels were lower, we'd probably get a few more on the float. But what a fantastic day. I'm absolutely chuffed to get some Trent barbel. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. Like, share and subscribe. Let me know what species you think I should go after next. And I'll see you in the next vid. Cheers.
Next week, I'm back with Jeremy Wade as we head to the River Tyne to try and catch a salmon. I have a range of merch out, including fish posters, playing cards, and an ID book on British fish species, which you can get in the link in the description. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this vid, why not check out this other video right here? If you can, please subscribe to the channel, it only takes a couple of seconds and it really helps me out. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.